So, as a person, I think once I decide, I stick to what I decide. Um, and I know there is no other way to live a healthy life. I think I'm fairly confident of the fact that if we have to live in a city kind of a life and do the work that we do, then we need to take out time to ensure that our body, mind, and soul gets the nourishment that it needs. I'm a kind of person who is used to have short meals like 6 times a day, and I would always think that I need my food at specific intervals, otherwise I'll have gastric issues. But surprisingly, when I started the fasting, I I didn't have a single day of any gastric problems, and I was surprised at that myself. When you go through fasting, more than your stomach or hunger, it is the mind which kind of helps you either to go through it or not go through it. The first 3 days are difficult because your mind is constantly thinking of food, and especially all the food that you love eating. So gajar ka halwa, butter chicken, and all of that. But surprisingly, from fourth or fifth day onwards, your mind starts getting blank, is what my experience was. I think for others it might be different. Um, and then either you are in a thoughtless kind of a space where you are just focusing on the here and now, and you are neither thinking about the past nor you are thinking about the future nor you are doing any planning, so you are in the moment. um, and you just kind of stay with your mind and body in that moment, and you take one day at a time. However, it was the ninth or 10th day, my mind started becoming overactive. And it started kind of trying to kind of plan, or started dreaming about things that I would want to do, which I think was again a good thing because it also released a lot of creative energy in me. So I basically did a search on the internet about healing spaces, and Sehat One was one of the places which was offering natural way of healing.
And what made you come to choose Sehat One itself?
So I had a requirement where I wanted to be with my kid and not leave her behind and go, and Sehat One was the only place which offered that yes, you can come with the kid, and that worked for me.
And how was it to, who did you come along and how many days were you here for?
So I came with my husband and my kid, where my husband took the role of a full-time caregiver, because when you are entering in any healing kind of a space, you need that time for yourself. I was here for about 20 days, I think 15 to 20 days, because I wanted to go through at least 10 days of fasting. So I needed that much amount of time to kind of go through the entire process.
You in fact came twice.
Yeah.
So
मेरा
you,
3 weeks अभी था और 1 week. It was more like a month actually.
and after doing your first week you still felt कि वापस जाना चाहिए, कि was it like अभी हुआ नहीं है इसलिए जाना चाहिए?
No. I think for me, no, it's like once I've decided, I've decided. तो जब करना है ठीक, उस टाइम हुआ नहीं तो
होता है.
हाँ. But for me, it was never कि जाना है या नहीं. It's like okay, कब जाना है.
Okay. And how was it here? मतलब what were the most challenging things for you at Sehat One?
So I think the most challenging thing was challenging my own comfort levels and assumptions about how we typically live life in the city space versus here. I think the space by design is not something that will give you instant comfort in terms of the things that you expect in your home, and you had to figure things out Um, so that took a couple of days to kind of adjust and figure it out. But once that got figured out, then the rest was easy.
What is something that you liked or enjoyed?
The things that I liked about Sehat, one was number one, the space, and the fact that you could literally experience, all the five elements of nature. So be it the sunbathing or taking a dip in the mud pool, um, or just be in the green surroundings, because it's next to the forest and it's so dense that the moment you kind of go to places like that, you instantly feel relaxed, and that is something that we totally miss in city life. So I think those are some of the things that I really enjoyed. Like after a long time, I could see stars in the sky, and just kind of taking in nature through all your five senses.
Any particular day you remember? It's
So one I really enjoyed when we went for a forest trek, and it was quite a uphill trek, and I was like, would I be able to do it or not? And it was a dense forest, but at the end of it, when we were able to go all the way up, that was quite a enjoyable moment, and you feel a sense of achievement. What I also realized is the more you push yourself, in terms of whether it's walking on a plain surface in the nature or doing your trekkings, your strength actually improves over a period of time. So the first 2 days I would like huff and puff, but gradually I could do 10 kilometers of walking and things like that. So I could see the energy levels in me changing by not even like doing anything per se, just by being in the nature.
And so usually people are hesitant to push themselves,
Right.
and it is not an easy thing to push somebody else.
Right.
So have you figured out about this, how much to push and for
Myself.
yourself?
Um, so as a person, I think once I decide, I stick to what I decide. Um, and I know there is no other way to live a healthy life. I think I'm fairly confident of the fact that if we have to live in a city kind of a life and do the work that we do, then we need to take out time to ensure that our body, mind, and soul gets the nourishment that it needs. So in my mind, I don't see myself pushing or doing something um, which is not normal. I think for me it is like, if I have to stay healthy and fit, then this is the way to go. So it's more like a lifestyle change.
Okay. So now coming to your observations. So what changes have you observed in your body first of all?
Right. The number one thing was change in energy. Especially after my pregnancy, I would feel constantly low on energy, and obviously I had weight gain issues. I never really managed to lose the weight that I had gained beyond a certain point, and that I think resulted in aches and pains and low energy and all of that. So what I the first shift that I saw was the change in energy and mood, and that helped me or gave me the confidence to kind of embark on a 10-day fasting. Yeah, and the second thing would be, and that is, I think, when I started the fasting. Now I'm a kind of person who is used to have short meals like 6 times a day, and I would always think that I need my food at specific intervals, otherwise I'll have gastric issues. But surprisingly, when I started the fasting, I didn't have a single day of any gastric problems, and I was surprised at that myself.
Mhm.
And in fact, from the fifth day onwards, the first 3 days are difficult, but as you kind of go along, from fifth or sixth day onwards, I started feeling a surge in energy, which was again very, very surprising because there was no food, so no intake going in. But there was just so much energy to do so much work.
So, what was making you go? How were you getting this energy?
I have no idea. But I'm assuming because no energy was spent on digestion, gradually the ketosis started, and therefore that kind of released energy from the fat.
Did you feel bored at any moment?
No, I didn't feel bored at any moment. I think for me every day was a new experience, and one day at a time. And every day I would just observe my body and how my mind is dealing with the fact that it knows it's not going to get food, but is it going to stay with the process till the 10th day?
Mhm. So, what have been the observations with the mind, and any changes or shifts or any new thing that you have noticed?
So I realized that when you go through fasting, more than your stomach or hunger, it is the mind which kind of helps you either to go through it or not go through it. The first 3 days are difficult because your mind is constantly thinking of food, and especially all the food that you love eating. So gajar ka halwa, butter chicken, and all of that. But surprisingly, from fourth or fifth day onwards, your mind starts getting blank, is what my experience was. I think for others it might be different. And then either you are in a thoughtless kind of a space where you are just focusing on the here and now, and you are neither thinking about the past, nor you are thinking about the future, nor you are doing any planning, so you are in the moment. And you just kind of stay with your mind and body in that moment, and you take one day at a time. However, it was the 9th or 10th day, my mind started becoming overactive. And it started kind of trying to kind of plan, or started dreaming about things that I would want to do, which I think was again a good thing because it also released a lot of creative energy in me. So that was my experience with the mind. And I also think that if people have more time, or even if I had more time, I probably could have continued for a couple of more days.
So, what did you mean by that? It unleashed the creative energy.
I think it cleared the space from thinking about mundane things or past things or the usual planning we do in our day-to-day life, to things that you would want to do in life. So, if you're interested in dancing,
Anything you thought for yourself
yeah,
which you want to share?
yeah. So I love dancing, and I'm a trained Kathak dancer, but I left dancing a long time ago, and I keep missing it. And I love salsa as well, and I have been thinking of going back, but for various reasons it's not happening. And I realized that was one thing that came to my mind, saying I need to go back to dancing. The second thing is, of course, something in the area of healing, because that is another thing that attracts me. So whether it's healing or counseling or whatever, and that is another area that I want to explore. So I felt my mind was more working towards what the potential could be, and what my deeper desires or interest could be, and the real me, rather than what the world expected of me.
Mhm. So are you still in touch with those deepest desires, or has it been?
Yes. So I kind of wrote down whatever came to my mind during that time, because I think once daily life takes over, the chances are you may forget. So I always write it down, and I just have to go back and figure it out.
And so, how do you think is this whole experience going to uh, affect your future life?
So from this experience, what I learned was, especially the autophagy part, is it helped me lose fat and excess weight, and that freed up energy for the body to do something else. So if I'm able to continue this and do it at periodic intervals and be with nature, it is going to give me um, bursts of energy or creative spirit or whatever, that will enable me to rethink about my life goals and not get stuck at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and be more in touch with, because I believe we are all evolving species. I'm not who I was 5 years back.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore my goals cannot be the same that I had 5 years back. So the more lighter we are, the more adaptable we are and in tune with who we are and what we want out of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And but don't you think that uh, this thought of being lighter, being leaner, uh, there's also that when मतलब ऐसा लगता है कि इसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, so people there is some body shaming involved,
Yeah.
and people say think कि भाई जैसा है वैसा होना चाहिए. And so what do you think about that?
So, I obviously don't like body shaming, because I think it's very judgmental. Um, Now, and we need to realize that every person, be it a woman or a man, goes through very different cycles in their life, and it is quite possible that someone is thin at some point and becomes fat at some point, and we should be generous enough to let them be. Um, Personally, for me, I don't care, because it's my body. I would definitely like to be lighter and fitter, but that is also because it helps me to be much more productive
Mhm.
and do the things that I want to do in life.
I would like you to talk about, is there are there any things you have lost? One thing you said, you lost the fat.
Yeah.
Any other things you have lost?
Um, I think my assumption and mindset. I never thought I could survive in a space like this, because I have just never been in a space like this. And whenever we have traveled, we have been in luxury places, and there's certain amount of comfort that you get used to. Today, I feel I can survive anywhere. So that is the biggest shift. Today, I feel that I can survive without food, which is huge. I always thought food is something without which I can't live, but now it gives me the confidence that yes, I can do it. And the moment you feel that you are not dependent on the external environment, but what is within you, it it gives you a huge amount of liberation to choose what you want to do and to be where you want to be. So I
Mhm.
think that is what I have lost.
Mhm. So would you say, does that increase your confidence or how situated you feel with yourself?
I think it definitely helps in increasing your self confidence, because the moment you say, I'm not, my happiness or my comfort is not dependent on the external surroundings, it means you can just be anywhere and be happy. And it also helps you to be more in tune with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
which is super super important in today's world, because there are just so many distractions with the social media and so many things happening around the world.
Can you just share once again what was your intention before you came to Singapore?
So
Joining this program.
my intention was, number one was that I should feel energetic, and second was I should lose weight, and in the process get rid of my aches and pains. Plus, I definitely needed a break from everything, and especially the city life.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, so these intentions and these goals are common, and a lot of people have them. What do you think holds other people back, or maybe was holding you back, and they are unable to take a step for it, do something about it?
I can talk for myself. In my case, I had responsibilities that I had to take care of first. I live with my in laws and I had a 3-year-old. So you can't just really leave a 3-year-old and go somewhere. You can't always take a 3-year-old and go wherever you want. And especially the last 1 year has been so turbulent with the COVID and everything. I think a lot of people get held back because of the responsibilities that they have at home. And it could be both professional and personal. But at some time, I also feel people need to take a pause and prioritize themselves, because, like they always say, first you need to wear your oxygen mask, and then only you can be a caregiver to someone else.
Mm. So was it difficult for you to make this choice of prioritizing yourself?
I was fortunate, because my entire family came together to support me.
Mm.
I did have responsibilities, and in fact, there was an instance where we came to Sehat One and we had to go back within a week because my dad in law got admitted to ICU. Um, and then we finally came here after 2 months when he was stable. But I think I was incredibly fortunate that my in laws and my husband came together to say, we'll support you in this journey. It's time that you prioritize yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what is equally important is the people who love you. They also kind of enable you sometimes to take the break.
Mm-hmm. And you also had two loved ones with you in this process. So how was it to do this with your daughter first?
So I think I had fun. Yes, it demands some time. Children demand that attention. But I did have a conversation with my daughter before coming, saying that, you have a choice to stay back with your dad and your grandparents, um, or you can come with me, but I won't be able to give you that much time as much as I give you at home, because I need that time for myself. And she was extremely generous for her age to say, it's fine, but I want to come with you and I'll be with dad. um, and I think this process would not have been possible without her support and my husband's support. And I think that's crucial,
Mm-hmm.
especially if your ideal would be that people, when they opt for healing experiences, they go alone, because then they can just focus on themselves. But my experience was, because I think I had two committed individuals, um, it kind of helped the process, and
Mhm.
I was able to achieve what I wanted to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Any observations or changes that you observe in your daughter here?
Um, In fact, my daughter loved the place, and I think she took to the place much faster than me probably. She now kind of recognizes plants, and she has her own different places where she will say, this is this plant, and this is where I want to go. And she's much more in tune with the nature, is what I see. She has never played with mud, and now she says, I love playing with mud. And I think that's extremely beautiful, because unless and until you get uh, attached with these earthy elements, you miss out something in life. So the very fact that she has become so comfortable with the surroundings and the earthiness of the place gives me immense joy, and I'm sure this will help her in the long run as well.
Any changes in your husband?
So I think my husband has a similar experience like me, where he also feels that even though he didn't go through the process, but he also feels that, we can survive anywhere. So without going through the process, but simply by being in the space and kind of adjusting to it and being in the nature, I think that enabled him to see that there's a shift possible. So, yeah.
So as a family now you're ready to do anything.
Yeah, I think as a family we are, and we have been thinking for quite some time to kind of make a shift from a completely urban life to a mix of village versus urban life. And I think this experience prepared us as a family to kind of take that plunge.
Okay. This is the last thing. Any advice you have for future participants?
So, I think two things. One is, because we are used to a certain way of living and a surrounding, there might be a lot of initial resistance. During those moments, if we could keep the bigger goal in mind and stay true to that, I think it will help you ease into the process. And the second is, if despite difficulties or whatever comes your way, you say that no matter what, I'm here to complete the process and I will give it my 100%. Those two things will probably help you get adjusted to the place much faster and help you achieve the objectives that you want to achieve.